A driveway. The engine off. A man not moving. The house is 20 steps away. Every window is lit. Somebody inside has already made dinner. He has been home for 11 minutes. He has not opened the car door. Upstairs, a boy is watching from the landing window. He does this most nights now. He watches his father reach into the door pocket. He watches him take out a folded handkerchief and press it to his face. Then the handkerchief goes back. Then the door opens. Then his father walks in and asks how school was. The boy is 9. Nobody tells him anything. He simply decides that this is a secret he is helping to keep. 31 years later, 3 strangers at his father's funeral will tell him something that turns that car completely inside out. And it is not a sad thing. That is the part worth staying for. Picture the man in that driver's seat. I will call his son Michael. The details in this story belong to more people than one, which is rather the point. Because almost everybody knows some version of that parked car. The engine ticking as it cools. The seatbelt already off. The key still sitting in one hand. It is the last private place before the day has to be carried indoors. And it has a very specific feeling. Not sadness exactly. More like pressure that has finally found a room. People are strangely loyal to that room. They will sit in it in the rain. They will sit in it after a shift that took everything they had. Nobody schedules it. It just arrives, and something in the body says, here. Not in there. Michael grew up certain that the car was where his father went to hide from them. That one belief shaped how he spoke to his own son for the next 20 years. Which is how these things travel. Here is what was actually happening in that driveway. A 9-year-old had no chance of guessing it. A psychologist at the University of Akron, Ronald Levant, spent much of his career on one plain question. Why do so many men go quiet at the exact moment a feeling arrives? What he found was not that men feel less. It is that a great many of them were never handed the words. Boys are given a small vocabulary early. Fine. Tired. Busy. Annoyed. For doors for a house with 40 rooms. The feeling still comes. It simply has nowhere to go and no name to be called by. So it leaves through the body instead. A tight jaw. A short answer. A long silence at a kitchen table while everybody else talks. And sometimes it leaves in a parked car, where nobody is asking a question that has to be answered. That is the mechanism. Not a hard heart. A missing vocabulary, learned young, and kept politely for life. Which means the car was never the problem. The car was the workaround. And there is one more thing about all this that surprises nearly everyone who hears it. At Tilburg University in the Netherlands, researchers compared how often people cry across 37 countries. The sensible expectation was that in freer, wealthier, more equal places, the gap between men and women would close. It did the opposite. The gap is widest in the richest and most equal countries of all. Nobody is certain why. But it points at something worth sitting with for a moment. A rule this stubborn is not carried in the body. It is taught. And it seems to be taught most quietly in the places that believe they have already unlearned it. So Michael's father was not unusual. He was ordinary in the way that entire countries are ordinary. And the word for what he was carrying has a small history of its own. Grief comes from the Latin gravis. Heavy. The same root that gives us the word gravity. It was never named as a feeling. It was named as a weight. And weight is not something anyone talks their way out of. It is something you either put down for a minute or keep holding. For 31 years, Michael assumed his father had chosen to hold it alone. Then came the day of the funeral. A hired hall with a low ceiling. A tea urn. Paper cups. Sandwiches under cling film, already curling at the edges. Michael did what people do at these things. He stood near the door and let kind, general sentences arrive. Then a man in a coat slightly too big for him waited until the queue thinned out and said something that was not general at all. He said, "Your dad drove me to the hospital every Tuesday for a year. And he never once made me talk on the way." 20 minutes later, a woman who used to run the corner shop told her own version of it. He drove her to the solicitor the week her whole life fell apart. Then he sat in the car park until she came back out. And then a young man Michael did not recognize at all. 23, maybe. A lad from the yard, hands pushed into his pockets. He said, "I sat in your dad's car outside my flat for about an hour once. He didn't say anything. He just didn't leave." 3 people. 3 cars. The same shape, over and over. Michael stood in that hall holding a paper cup and finally understood a thing he had been looking straight at since he was 9. His father had not been hiding in the car. That car was the only room he had ever been given for any of it. And he kept opening the door of it to other people. Everything he could not put into a sentence, he put into a journey. He drove people to the hardest hours of their lives, and let the quiet be enough. That was his language. He was completely fluent in it. Nobody had ever told him it counted. There is a Yiddish saying, old enough that no one can say who said it first. What soap is for the body, tears are for the soul. Not medicine. Not weakness. Maintenance. It asks for no audience at all. It only asks not to be interrupted. There is one more part of this story, and it happened about a fortnight afterwards. Michael picked his own son up from football. 15 years old. Silent the whole way, staring out of the side window. The old script was sitting right there. Cheer him up. Ask about the game. Fill the space so nobody has to sit in it. Instead, he pulled onto the drive, turned the engine off, and did not get out. He said, "We can sit here a minute if you want. I'm not going anywhere." And they sat there. For minutes, maybe 5. His son said almost nothing, and then said one true sentence, and then they went in for dinner. Nothing was solved. That was never the job. The room was simply handed on, one generation further, with the door left open this time. And here is the part that stops being about Michael's father. You already have a room like that. You have probably been using it for years without ever calling it anything. It is the parked car outside your own house. Engine off. 10 minutes you could not really explain to anyone. It is the shower, where the water covers the sound of it. It is the walk to the bins, taken far more slowly than that walk requires. It is the last stair before the landing, where you stop for a second with one hand flat against the wall. It is the car park at 10 to 7, 20 minutes early for a shift that starts at 10 past. It is the long way home, taken for no reason you would say out loud. None of that is avoidance. That is a body doing sensible triage inside a life that has no gaps left in it. The mistake is not going there. The mistake is what almost everybody does once they arrive. Watch what happens in the 60 seconds after it starts. The chest tightens first. The jaw sets. The eyes get hot before anything else has moved at all. And then something interrupts it. The phone comes out. The radio goes on. A voice says, "Not now, not here, not over this." The wave gets stopped halfway. And a wave stopped halfway does not leave. It waits. Which is why it can turn up on an ordinary Tuesday, out of nowhere, over a burnt piece of toast. So here is the practice. It takes about a minute, and it is specific to this exact moment. The next time it arrives while you are sitting in that car, do for small things. 1. Take your hands off the wheel and rest them palm down on your legs. It tells the body that the driving is finished. 2. Let your back teeth come apart. Unclench the jaw. That one small movement does far more than it sounds like it should. 3. Name it in 3 words, out loud, quietly, to nobody. I miss him. This is heavy. I am tired. 3 words is enough. A feeling with a name stops shouting to be identified. 4. Do not interrupt it. Let it crest, and let it pass. It is almost always shorter than the fear of it. That is the whole thing. No fixing. No solving. Just not interrupting. That is what 1 quiet minute is actually for. Not to change the day. To let the day finish arriving. And then go inside. The going inside is part of it too. Michael cleared out his father's car about 3 weeks later. In the door pocket, exactly where it had always lived, was the handkerchief. Ironed. Folded into quarters. For 31 years he had thought of it as the tool of a secret. Standing there on the drive, he saw it completely differently. It was not there to hide anything. It was there because his father knew, every single morning, that the day might get heavy. And he went out to meet it anyway, prepared. That is not a man in retreat. That is a man who kept showing up, carrying the weight, with a plan for it. So this is the one thing to take tonight. The next time you sit in a parked car for longer than you can explain, do not talk yourself out of that room. Take the minute. Take the whole minute. And if there is somebody you could simply sit beside without saying a word, that counts. It always counted. The engine will be off again tomorrow. The house will still be lit. And 20 steps is not very far, once you have put something down first. Tomorrow, another minute like this one, waiting exactly where you left it.